So go ahead and measure out 2 cups of flour, and we're gonna use 4 eggs also for this recipe. And go ahead and start making a well inside of the center of the flour, kind of like a little volcano. And we're gonna start cracking in 3 out of 4 of these eggs into the well, and with the fourth egg, we're gonna use just the yolk. This is just general all-purpose flour, and you can go for the double zero flour, which is required of some recipes like pizza and other pasta recipes, but I found the general works just fine. Also going to go with a couple pinches of sea salt and a teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil, and we're going to start whisking these eggs with just a fork and start slowly incorporating some flour from the sides of the well. Make sure that you just use a little bit at a time so you don't over collapse the well. Sometimes it will happen whenever you push in some flour, so make sure you keep rebuilding the well side, so that you don't, get eggs running all over your cutting board or whatever you're using. And once you just keep slowly incorporating the flour into the mixture, you're going to get almost like a batter-like consistency, which is great. That's when you know you can start really going after it because it's sticking and not running all over the place. So you can keep incorporating all the flour in until you start to get a more of a dough instead of a batter, and that's when you can start maybe adding in some more flour like so to make sure it's not too wet, and you can start working it with your hands. And when you're working it with your hands, you're developing gluten, and this is called kneading. So you're going to need to knead it for about 10 to 15 minutes, I'd say. Um, you really want to get it pretty hard and well developed. Um, there's no really limit to how long you can go for, so you can underdo it, but you can't overdo it. So just keep going until you start to get, relatively hard and a solid color that you used to seeing dough, like so. And you can go as hard as you want because we're gonna actually let it rest in the fridge. You're gonna wrap it up with some cling film like this, and it's gonna go in the fridge for at least half an hour to rest. Um, you can go longer, obviously, half a day, whatever. It doesn't matter. So this is always the first step when you're making this dish. So we're gonna get our first stuffing going for the raviolis. This is gonna be some just big, large button mushrooms, a couple slices of some red onion, about half of, or a quarter of a red onion. This is only gonna make about 4 raviolis. So I didn't want to go too crazy because we're making other stuffings today, and some garlic. So we're gonna go ahead and saute this off with some extra virgin olive oil, salt and pepper, and a large skillet. Um, get it going, not too hot, just like medium high, so we're not trying to brown it too much. We're just trying to kind of caramelize and get all the water content out of the veggies so that their natural sweetnesses come through. Then we're going to go in the food proc, so that's why you didn't need to chop it up too fine or anything special. So you're going to go ahead and give it a couple blitzes until it gets really fine and smooth. Then once that's nice and done, give it a taste for seasoning. All good. Pop it in the fridge, and we're going to save that and work on our next stuffing. And our next stuffing is going to be a sausage, spinach, and ricotta. It's really classic. Maybe so the spinach and the ricotta. I like to add a little bit of sausage because other one's vegetarian, so we're doing one vegetarian and one non-vegetarian today. Um, so yeah, just like the ragu bolognese in the past video, we're gonna use 3 out of 5 of the sweet Italian sausages. We're gonna sear them off really nice and golden brown. Break them up as much as you can. And then you're gonna throw in the spinach towards the end here and cook that down with some salt and pepper until the spinach is nice and cooked and released all of its water. And we're gonna get a bowl on the side here with some just general ricotta cheese that we got at the store. I'm gonna use, I think, about 75% of this can. You don't really need the whole thing, and this is gonna be good for 8 to 10 raviolis for the size that I make them. You can certainly make small ones, but I like to make the big large ones. So once the sausage is almost done, we're gonna add the garlic so we don't burn it, avoid that bitterness, and give it a good couple stirs. Turn off the heat, and we're gonna go ahead and start incorporating this into the cheese. Give that a good, couple mixes, and then that's gonna be all ready to go. So you can store that in the fridge, and we can start working on our tomato sauce. We're gonna do a vodka marinara sauce, just like you have in the your normal Italian restaurant. It's really simple. We're gonna start sauteing off some onions, some olive oil, some seasoning. Now get out a bottle of vodka. We're only going to use about 3 shots or so for this recipe. It's not so much that you want to use the alcohol for like some kind of fanciness or whatever you want to call it. You're going to use the alcohol because it actually enhances the flavor of tomato. When alcohol is cooked with tomato, it's been scientifically proven somewhere, some paper. I don't know, but I just know that it makes it a lot better. So we're gonna just use a basic canned tomato sauce. Um, this is by Ferrara. It's pretty well known and good sauce. We're gonna go ahead and throw in some parsley to get. I like to get the parsley cooked into the sauce and also add it at the end for freshness. And some cream. This is a heavy cream. It's about half one of those little baby cartons that you can find in the milk section of the grocery store in the fridge. And we're going to make sure to bubble this nice and light because you don't want to break the cream. So you're not going to be like on a full, high heat bubbling. It's nice and easy. Um, so once that's cooking down a little bit, I like to add some fresh tomato as well as the cooked tomato in there. So the fresh tomato adds like a nice acidity, another dimension of tomato. So now the sauce is basically complete. Flip the burner down to low. Get the ravioli stuffings out of the fridge and on standby. And we're going to start prepping the dough. So I like to use just like standard dinner table, nice and flat. Make sure it's really, really clean. And we're going to spread out a bunch of flour over there because we're working with a lot of dough. This is just about a third of the piece that we started with. I'm going to do the mushroom stuffing first, so I know that I'm not making too many ravioli, so I'm not using a huge honking piece of dough. We're going to start rolling it out here nice and gently. And then once it gets to a formidable size, I go ahead and roll out a little tail end of it. And I'm going to stick this tail end off the side of the table and push up against it with my leg. And that's going to hold it in place because sometimes the dough is kind of elastic and it rebounds. So this will help you get the maximum amount of stretch. You're going for a long sort of rectangular piece and not like a big round pizza slice. And get this dough really, really thin. You want to be almost able to see through it when you pick it up, and make sure you keep flouring the table too when you're stretching it out to this kind of length because you really don't want it to stick, because then it just rips. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect. Really, really rustic. So I just take some golf ball sized pieces of stuffing here. Um, Go ahead and plate them like so down in a row. And then you're just going to do the classic grandma, pizza flip, quesadilla, whatever you want to call it. And you just roll over the dough like such. And we're going to press out the fillings and get all the air out in between the raviolis and around the filling and make it nice and encased. This ensures it cooks properly, it doesn't leak or anything like that. And I'm just going to cut out some rustic, huge slices of ravioli. That's the way I like to do it. Um, it makes a really, really kind of fancy plating technique, and it's like just the best when you could bite into some nice fresh pasta. So this is our first batch. We have a big pot of water boiling here in the meantime with the sauce that's been bubbling down. You can see it's turning pretty orange. It's really, really nice and thick. And we're going to throw in these ravioli. And this part only takes about a minute 30, 2 minutes, because it's fresh pasta here, not dried. You'll actually see the ravioli start to float like so, and they're just about ready. So we're going to finish them with the sauce, and you can throw in a little bit of extra pasta water if that sauce has been cooking down a lot. It kind of revives it and gives some extra seasoning. And we're going to just let this bubble away for about 30 seconds to a minute, cover up the raviolis, let them absorb some of the sauce, and then we're going to go ahead and plate and get ready to eat the first batch. Just gonna get a nice big platter, lay them out, lay out some extra sauce, and I'm gonna also finish them off with some extra toppings just to decorate and extra little bites of flavor. So we're doing some more fresh tomato, we're doing some fresh parsley, and some grated Reggiano Parmigiano cheese. You can use whatever you like, some other mushrooms or anything else like that to just kind of bring it back out. And then we're gonna move on to our next dough. This one I rolled out much bigger, as you can see. It's still really thin, and because the ricotta and sausage mixture actually came out with more than twice the amount of the mushroom mixture. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay these out just like the last one, and you just roll it over like it's a big taco or a big quesadilla here, and then you start pressing out the individual raviolis, and make sure there's no air bubbles in between the raviolis, and in between the dough. These ones are huge. That's the way I like to do it. You certainly can do small ones, but I just like having 3 or 4 raviolis as my whole meal, and that's it. So these are about almost can fit in the palm of your hand, baseball sized, really extravagant, really good. And I also think they just cook better like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and just cut them out. Also, you can see I didn't exactly put as much flour on the table as I should have. So learn from my mistake here, and I was gentle enough that I didn't rip the raviolis, so they still came out great. But yeah, go ahead and cut them up, set them out, and make sure that water is going, bubbling pretty good. So you can just drop them right in and start making the next batch. Um, and all these trimmings of dough, you can certainly reuse these. You could reform the dough ball, roll out some maybe spaghetti or whatever you like, or maybe just make more raviolis. So don't throw that away. That's fresh dough. So yeah, same thing. About minute 30, 2 minutes. They're gonna start floating. They'll let you know when they're ready. These are a little bit bigger, so they might take an extra, 20 seconds or whatever, but it's still the same thing. Same technique. Add a little bit of pasta water when you see that sauce has been cooking down too much, but it's getting more and more rich. Um, and yeah, we're just going to finish them in the sauce. Same exact thing. Make sure that you don't rip the raviolis. Be very careful with them. That will just be a complete way to ruin 2 hours of work. And then we're going to start plating these guys just the same way. I'm going to